Hello everyone, welcome to Hopeful Moments 1. Today, we will hear a story about an employee dealing with a manager, Karen manager, who is authoritarian and unfair in her management style. This manager imposes unreasonable rules and frequently criticizes employees without valid reasons. Today's story will take you through a surprising situation when the employee refuses to do the go-backs task as requested by the manager, because she had previously forbidden him from doing it. This causes a shock to both the manager and the coworkers, as returning products is a regular part of the job. When the OP continues to refuse the task, despite requests from higher-ups, the situation ultimately leads to an argument between the Karen manager and the store manager. As a result, the Karen manager is forced to change her decision and allow OP to do the go-backs job again. This situation is surprising because the employee's stubbornness and the misguided compliance strategy helped him force the manager to confront her own mistake. If you find this story interesting and full of meaningful lessons, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more valuable lessons. When I started working at this supermarket during my gap year, before entering college, I had a very clear and practical reason to look for a part-time job. Like many young people, I wanted to save a certain amount of money before facing the heavy financial burden of unavoidable student loans. Back then, I wasn't just looking for a job to pass the time, I really needed the financial support to prepare for the upcoming academic years. Earning money during this period not only helped me feel more independent but also allowed me to take control of my future. I was fully aware that university life wouldn't be easy, and I wanted to reduce the financial burden as much as possible when entering the stressful period of studying. At first, the job at the supermarket was quite simple and uncomplicated. The tasks I had to do, such as organizing products, checking shelves, or assisting customers, were fairly light and easy to handle. This was really an advantage for me during the initial period, as I didn't have to deal with too much pressure and could gradually get used to the work and the new work environment. What made me feel most comfortable was that the majority of the coworkers and customers at the supermarket were very friendly and accommodating. Even though many of my colleagues had been working there for a long time, they were always ready to help me and share valuable work experiences. Everything seemed so simple and smooth. In addition, the work schedule was very flexible. This was an important factor because I could easily adjust my working hours to fit my study schedule and other activities. This allowed me to avoid feeling stressed or exhausted by work, and I could maintain a balance between earning money and studying. The feeling at that time was fantastic, as if I had control over everything in my hands. Overall, during the early period of working at the supermarket, I was quite satisfied and happy with my job. However, what I didn't expect was that everything would change when we got a new boss, and that was when the real challenges began. When I first started the job at the supermarket, one of the things that made me feel the most comfortable and satisfied was the fact that I didn't have to deal with too many difficult customers, those people in retail commonly referred to as Karens. This made the job feel much easier than I had originally imagined. The workload, though not always light, always had flexibility in terms of hours, which allowed me to easily arrange work schedules without affecting my studies or other personal activities. Moreover, I was really lucky to be working in an environment full of friendly and welcoming colleagues. They were always willing to help and share their work experiences, helping me quickly integrate and feel at home in the company. My managers were also an important factor in making me feel at ease in the job. They weren't just people who gave instructions but also excellent mentors who always cared about the development of their employees. As a result, my work life seemed to be ideal. Everything was running smoothly, and I was able to enjoy my work without feeling too much pressure or stress. At that time, I felt like I was living in an ideal space where everything was balanced and harmonious. Life seemed to be filled with joy, and I began to think that I would stay with this job for the long term. However, everything changed when we got a new boss in our department. I don't know why new bosses tend to make sudden and sometimes violent changes in behavior to assert their authority. It seems like in order to prove that they are serious and in control, they feel the need to show strength and harshness with everyone around them. This behavior makes everything tense and no longer as comfortable as before. The decisions of the new boss not only made our jobs more difficult but also diminished the friendliness of the working environment. I didn't understand why a manager, instead of showing leadership through understanding and respect, would choose to make everyone feel fearful and uncomfortable. It was clear that the new boss had a goal, but the way they approached it was completely opposite to what I had expected. Instead of the gentle support and guidance I was used to, I now found myself in a more stressful working environment. All I wanted was to continue with my normal work and learn more from my colleagues, but now I had to face harsh demands and ill-informed decisions. The new manager, Karen, began to draw attention not by offering motivation or positive guidance, but by walking around the department and starting to criticize everyone for the most ridiculous and unreasonable reasons. Even when we were doing our jobs correctly, she kept finding ways to criticize, as if she couldn't tolerate the peaceful and efficient environment we had maintained. Her criticisms were not only baseless but also highly unreasonable, which made the work atmosphere tense and stifling. Sometimes, when we were completing tasks according to requirements, she would appear and demand that we work faster, even though the job had already been completed on time. This made us feel like we weren't doing enough, even though we had done our best to complete the task. Not stopping there, she also made incredibly disrespectful remarks, repeatedly claiming that we were stealing the company's time. It felt as if our efforts were being downplayed, and every action, no matter how small, was being scrutinized, criticized, and condemned by her. Whenever she appeared, we all felt tense, and no one dared to express dissatisfaction or protest for fear that she would take harsh action, possibly making things difficult for us in the future. This not only affected the morale of each person in the department but also undermined the team spirit that had been built up strongly before. Although we all hated her for her authoritarian management style and lack of empathy, she held the power in the department, and we could only try our best to follow her unreasonable demands. The sense of helplessness spread among us as we could not speak out or ask for a more fair management approach. At this point, the job was no longer a place to learn and grow, but had become a psychological battle, where each person had to try to keep their job without being targeted by her unclear reasons. Everything seemed to lose the freedom and flexibility we had grown accustomed to. Even though we tried to maintain a professional attitude, these baseless criticisms weighed down on our minds, creating an invisible pressure on each person in the department. I have always been proud of my ability to find the quickest and most efficient ways to work, a skill I have honed for a long time thanks to my mother's dedicated guidance. She always taught me that in life, no matter the job, if you can do it quickly while maintaining quality, that's the key to sustainable success. Thank you, Mom, for imparting these valuable principles to me. That's why I always try to apply these principles in all my tasks, big or small. Today, as usual, I continued to follow this method, hoping to complete my work in the shortest time possible without sacrificing its effectiveness. At the end of the day, as usual, my job was to return the products left by customers in the store, of course, only items that are not easily damaged, like dry goods, canned food, etc. This was a simple task I had done many times before, so I didn't feel any pressure. Everything went smoothly, and I quickly finished returning the items in just about 10 minutes, a very short time for this task, and I felt satisfied for completing it quickly and efficiently. However, just as I finished my task, an unexpected event happened. Manager Karen called me into her office without any prior warning. At that moment, I thought maybe she just wanted to check if I had finished or perhaps give me some guidance for future tasks. However, when I entered the room, I had no idea that an unwanted conversation was about to take place. Karen started saying unpleasant things about my work, which I wasn't prepared for. I felt as if I was being criticized unfairly, even though I had worked hard to complete the task quickly and efficiently. I understand that in a workplace, not everyone will always be happy with what you do, but I couldn't help feeling upset when I was being criticized for unclear reasons. This wasn't the first time I had been unfairly criticized, but every time it happened, it felt as though the injustice was repeating itself. Although I had always tried to work hard and quickly, it seemed like my efforts were not being properly recognized. This made me feel disappointed and disheartened, as my hard work wasn't being acknowledged fairly. Manager Karen, close the door. Do you know why I called you here? Me, no? Manager Karen, I am trying to improve the efficiency of the department, and you've spent too much time doing this. I will not tolerate laziness in my department. Do you understand? Me, I'm not lazy, trying to explain. I just... Interrupting, she repeats. Manager Karen, do you understand? Realizing I was being oppressed, I just sighed and agreed. Manager Karen, to make sure you're not lazy anymore, you will no longer do any returns. I don't care what the store manager says. This is my department, and you will follow my orders. I'm the boss. I smirked silently as I realized what she had just said. I nodded and responded. Me, got it, I won't do the returns, no matter what. Manager Karen smiled in the same way as Ms. Umbridge and said. Manager Karen, good, now get back to work and don't forget what I said. I'm the boss. I turned away so she wouldn't see my smile and said. Me, don't worry, the message was received loud and clear. A few days passed without any incidents until I finally had the opportunity to carry out my misguided compliance. The front desk supervisor noticed the return cart was full and asked me to return the products. I smiled and said. Me, sorry, supervisor, Manager Karen told me I'm wasting time, and I'm no longer allowed to return products. The supervisor looked at me with a strange expression but just shrugged and asked another colleague to do the task instead. This loop continued for the next month. One day, the store manager was at the front desk. As the day ended, he looked at me and said. Store manager, hey, OP, we have a lot of returns, and I need you to handle them. Me, sorry, store manager. I'm not allowed to do returns anymore because I've been considered lazy. Store manager, looking frustrated, he said. Store manager, I don't care whether you're allowed or not. I'm telling you to do it. Me, sorry, store manager, Manager Karen told me I'm not allowed to do returns under any circumstances, and I have to follow her orders. Manager Karen said this is her department, and she's the boss. The store manager looked very angry and stormed straight into the management office. A few minutes later, the store manager called Manager Karen to his office through the intercom. Manager Karen left her office and went into the store manager's office. The door closed, and we could hear faint shouting. About 10 minutes later, the door opened, and Manager Karen walked out. She looked at me as if she wanted to shoot me and asked me to come into her office. I cheerfully agreed and said. Me, yes, Manager Karen, how can I help you? Manager Karen, you're allowed to do returns now. That's it. I smirked and left her office, delighted that I had just taught a lesson to a Karen. In the end, this story wasn't just a humorous situation at work but also a profound lesson about management and the importance of respecting and acknowledging the efforts of others. Everyone has their own way of working, and creativity in improving work efficiency should be appreciated. However, when criticized or not properly acknowledged, all efforts can feel meaningless, leading to a loss of motivation and increased stress at work. The lesson here is that, while we always try our best, communication and understanding between individuals in the workplace are crucial. A leader needs to know how to listen and encourage employees rather than criticizing them unfairly. The story also reminds us that sometimes patience and gentle handling can lead to more positive results than rigid and harsh management methods.